Okay, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Russ Drenth, U.S. Sales Director for MagrowTec. And we have a tech talk today talking about better coverage or less drift. Why choose when you can have both? Now, I'm going to say from the start that there's some wonderful technologies that have come out in spraying, for sure. We have See and Spray, PWM systems, we all got all kinds of surfactants and adjuvants and different things, and they all have definitely helped the sprayer technology industry, for sure. But I will contend that in many cases, we still have to choose one or the other. And in some cases, when we enhance the coverage, we actually have drift issues and vice versa. And I'll also contend that there's many different technologies that may enhance the coverage, but don't do anything for the drift. So why would we have to choose? Well, we're going to find out about a few things. But first of all, let's start out with something that's maybe surprising to some people. Between 60 to 90% of your spray is wasted. How many people would have known that? Okay. Now, obviously, that's a large variant, and mainly because spraying has a lot of variability. Okay. So we can have different boom heights, we have different pressures, flows, different things of this nature, but most of our spray is actually wasted, and that's a problem. And as you can see, the fine drift behind those sprayers, that's traditionally what we call drift, right? But as we'll find out, really we have different kinds of drift. So we have exodrift, which is like the more traditional drift, if you will, that people talk about. That's the fine driftable particles that go behind the sprayer. I call it the ping pong balls that just blow away. And that usually comes about with smaller nozzles and tips, trying to get a higher pressure, trying to get better canopy and coverage, if you will, and it ends up having more drift. Then we have what's called endodrift. And this is actually probably the biggest issue that we actually face, although one that a lot of people don't really understand or realize. And that's the coarse droplets that hit the plant and bounce or scatter off the plant and doesn't adhere to the plant. So everything has a surface tension, right? Remember that from physics class in ninth grade? Okay, so if we have a bowling ball, so to speak, and it hits that plant, it bounces off. And then that goes into the soil, and guess what happens? We have what? Chemical carryover the next year. Okay, so that's a problem. So we have to manage this exodrift and endodrift. So as we look at it, again, explaining this a little bit more, as we look at the left side there, the drift, the excellent coverage, if we have the small particles, if you will, small droplets, low droplet bounce and shatter. Now, that slide is actually wrong. That actually gives us, unfortunately, poor canopy penetration. So that's actually an issue. So that's a misnomer there. Very high drift potential, very high evaporation potential. Okay, as we make to larger droplets then, we have good penetration, low drift potential, low evaporation. That's a big portion of this. However, we have poor coverage, which ends up being reduced efficacy for many contact pesticides, and that's a problem if we don't have the coverage on the plant. And of course, high droplet bounce and shatter. As we look to the far right there, that's the sweet spot. And that's what we're really going to talk about today. Now, I will say the MagrowTec system does enhance other things. And I've had many farmers come to me and say, wow, I can't believe the coverage. I can't believe how it adheres to the plant after we use your system. But we're talking about the droplets. And what we do is we make more of the right size medium droplets. That reduces the drift, has good coverage, good penetration, low droplet bounce and shatter, and low evaporation. And that is the sweet spot of spraying. And that's what MagrowTec gives. So again, back to some of the challenges. A lot of delivery systems have helped for sure. Again, lots of neat stuff out there. But a lot of times when we make the larger droplets, we have some problems with the endodrift. We have the smaller droplets, we have the exodrift. And this is a problem with a lot of the spraying technologies as far as delivery systems. Adjuvants and surfactants have come a long ways and have helped us for sure. We have a lot of adjuvants for drift retardant, surfactants that help stick to the plant, but at the end of the day, if it's a bowling ball, it's not going to stick to the plant. So inherently, if we do not work at the fluid level, we are going to have problems. And we're going to talk to you about that here in a little bit. So it's a constant challenge between drift and coverage. We're going to show a short video here to explain it.
Introducing the MagrowTec Boom Kit System, a groundbreaking technology redefining the battle against spray waste. The journey begins when liquid is pumped from the sprayer tank and is enhanced by a series of custom-designed manifolds containing specific magnetic arrays that can be fitted to virtually any agricultural boom sprayer. As the liquid passes through the MagrowTec manifolds, it undergoes a profound transformation. The configuration of these manifolds and magnets creates dynamic flow conditions, ensuring complete exposure of the aqueous media to the magnetic fields. All natural source waters exhibit a degree of hardness and contain extremely small pre-nucleation entities called dollops, which are 50,000 times smaller than the thickness of a human hair. As they pass through customized magnetic fields, these dollops group together, forming larger clusters. The clusters then transform into a new and still larger pre-crystalline entity in the form of non-crystalline amorphous calcium carbonate, growing over 150 times larger than their original size, yet 200 times smaller than the thickness of a human hair. This transformation provides properties to the droplets that help reduce fine droplet drift and enhance spray coverage. The transformed media then enters the spray delivery boom containing rod magnets, providing further magnetic interaction under pre-nozzle flow conditions. This combined effect ensures that the droplets formed at the nozzles are appropriately conditioned for spray delivery. Together with the choice of nozzle, the conditioned droplets produce the spray delivery fans for overall spray efficiency and effectiveness. This is the MagrowTec effect.
Okay, so why is this important? Why is this important to us? Well, let's face it. I would say that the vast majority of our users cut their carrier rate 25%. What does that do to you in the field? And better coverage. So obviously we have less water usage, less man hours, less carrier needed, more acres covered, less downtime, and here's the kicker, better weed kill and less passes, less resprays. We have testimonials of a lot of farmers even reducing their fleet of sprayers from 2 to 1 because they save so much time out in the field. Over 110 field trials have been conducted throughout the United States and globally. University of Illinois has done a very nice one with us in conjunction with Growmark. We have over 350 units installed. That number is actually much higher than that. And most importantly, many farmer testimonials. Take a look at MagrowTec.com and you can see those, or stop by booth 414 and we can explain that to you. I will spend just a very, very little bit of time explaining. Let's make sure that we're taking a look at this scientifically. So it's one thing to look at a sprayer and say, okay, that sprayer is working better. I could tell you visually, oftentimes that's not a good way to measure it. So what we do at MagrowTec based on science is we'll do UV tests, we'll do water sensitive paper tests. We know that at minimal, you're gonna get 70% less drift and 20% more coverage. And I can tell you in many cases, those numbers are actually much higher. So we'll be glad to come out and work with you and actually do a study and show you side by side what our product can do for you. So as we look here in the upper right, the sweet spot of what we're doing with the droplets. We're getting more of the medium-sized droplets that are effective. And again, stop by our booth and we'll tell you about some other things that go along with it as far as adhesion and other properties that make the product work much better for you. So, why choose? MagrowTec, I would say, right now is the primary system out there that can actually enhance coverage and reduce drift both simultaneously. That's a very, very rare feature. And so I'm going to ask some of you, has anyone ever heard of Larry Bird? Anyone ever heard of Larry Bird? Okay. So Larry Bird is shooting a nice Wilson basketball. And let's pretend that that nice basketball is the droplet and the basket is the weed. And because Larry Bird is a good delivery system, what happens? He makes the shot 90% of the time, and then even when he misses, he's pretty darn close, right? Okay, all right. Now, let's give Larry Bird a bowling ball. Let's give Larry Bird a ping pong ball. Let's give Larry Bird a gigantic beach ball. How good is he? So even if he's a good delivery system, which we have good delivery systems, if we give him the wrong droplet, i.e. the wrong fluid, and we don't change the fluid dynamics, the fluid properties, and the molecular structure of the fluid, he doesn't have the right ball to shoot. That's what we do. We give Larry Bird more of the right balls to shoot to make this system effective. Please stop by booth 414. we'd love to explain it in greater detail. Thank you.